The message arrived during the night cycle. Commander Ethan Miller stared at the screen, reading the words over and over. Centauri outposts had fallen. The last major defensive position in the outer sectors was gone. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked around the command center. Only a skeleton crew worked at this hour, monitoring systems and maintaining communications with what remained of the United Galactic Alliance fleet. The war against the Draconid Empire had been going badly for years, but this was different. This was a disaster. "Send a priority message to all council members," Ethan said to his communications officer. "Emergency meeting on Europa base at 800 hours. 6 hours later, Ethan stood in the large meeting chamber carved deep into the ice of Jupiter's moon. The room filled with representatives from the 3 major alien races of the Alliance. The blue-skinned Arcturians took their seats on the left, their long fingers tapping at data screens. The Centaurians, with their 4 eyes constantly blinking in different patterns, gathered in the center. The Proteans, covered in short gray fur, sat rigidly on the right side. And then there were the humans. Only a handful of them held positions high enough to attend such meetings. Captain Lisa Harper sat next to Ethan, her face grim. "The Centauri outpost is gone," Ethan began without ceremony. "The Draconids have pushed through our last major defensive line. Estimates suggest they will reach the inner colonies within 3 months. A low murmur filled the room. The Arcturian High Engineer, Valsor, stood up. "Our new battleship designs were supposed to stop them," he said, his voice musical that filled with confusion. "The calculations showed we had a 78.3% chance of success. Calculations failed to account for the Draconid adaptations," said General Zix, the highest-ranking Protean. "They are learning our patterns faster than anticipated." The argument grew louder. The Centaurian ambassador raised all 4 hands, calling for order. "Please," he said, his translator converting his whistling language into English. "We must remain unified. Perhaps we can negotiate with the Draconids." "Negotiate?" Lisa Harper stood up suddenly. All eyes turned to her. "The Draconids don't negotiate. They conquer. They enslave. They've made that clear for 20 years. Ethan watched his fellow human with interest. She rarely spoke at these meetings. "With respect," she continued, "we've been fighting this war the wrong way. We've been using Arcturian technology, Protean analysis, and Centaurian diplomatic tactics. And we're losing." "What alternative do you suggest, Captain?" asked the Arcturian representative, his tone suggesting he already dismissed whatever she might say. "Let humans take over military operations." The room erupted in objections. Ethan almost smiled. The Alliance had welcomed humans into their fold 50 years ago, seeing them as a promising but junior species. Humans held positions throughout the Alliance, but rarely in top leadership. "Listen to me." Lisa raised her voice above the noise. "Look at the battle data. Which squadrons have the highest success rates against Draconid forces? Human-led ones. Which tactical innovations have confused Draconid prediction algorithms? Human ones." Ambassador Joe Rice, one of the few other humans present, pulled up data on the main screen. "Captain Harper is correct. Human unpredictability seems to be the one factor Draconid battle computers cannot effectively counter." The room grew quiet as the alien representatives studied the figures. "What exactly are you proposing?" asked General Zix. Lisa looked around the room. "Operation Wildcard. Give humans control of 3 battle groups. Let us retrofit the ships, modify the tactics, fight the way we know how." "That would violate centuries of Alliance military doctrine," Valsor objected. "Doctrine isn't working," Ethan said, finally speaking up to support Lisa. "We need something the Draconids won't expect." The council debated for hours. In the end, with their options dwindling and defeat looming, they agreed to a trial run of Lisa's proposal. As the meeting ended, Lisa approached Ethan. "I hope I'm right about this." Ethan nodded. "You better be. We just bet the future of the galaxy on the human way of war." Admiral Frank Bennett arrived at Europa base 3 days after the emergency meeting. His shuttle docked at the ice-covered landing bay where Lisa Harper waited for him. She saluted as he stepped onto the platform. "Captain Harper, so you're the one who convinced the aliens to let us humans have a real shot at this war," Frank said with a hint of a smile. "Yes, sir, though they're not entirely convinced yet." They walked through the steel corridors of the base toward the newly assigned human command center. Crew members nodded respectfully as they passed. Word had spread quickly about Operation Wildcard. 3 battle groups, Frank said, reviewing the details on his tablet. Not much to work with. It's what they were willing to give us. For now. They entered a large room where 30 human officers waited. Engineers, pilots, tacticians, and intelligence specialists all stood as the Admiral entered. Frank studied their faces. These were the best human military minds in the Alliance. "Ladies and gentlemen," Frank began, "we have been given a chance to change the course of this war. The Alliance has been fighting the Draconid Empire for decades using logic, patterns, and rules. And they're losing." He activated the main screen showing a map of Alliance territory, with large sections marked in red. "The problem is simple. The Draconids learn patterns quickly. The Arcturians design ships in perfect mathematical formations. The Proteans create battle plans with every move calculated. The Centaurians try to predict enemy responses using probability models." Lisa stepped forward. "And the Draconids have figured them all out. Their battle computers can predict Alliance moves almost perfectly." "So what do we do differently?" asked Major Greg Daniels, a veteran fighter pilot. Frank smiled. "We do what humans have always done in war. We get creative. We get unpredictable. We break the rules." Over the next week, the human officers worked around the clock. They redesigned Alliance ships, moving weapon systems to unexpected locations. They created new flight patterns that seemed chaotic, but followed human-style tactics that dated back to Earth's aerial combat history. Commander Olivia Simmons led the training of fighter squadrons, teaching pilots to rely less on computer assistance and more on instinct. Ship captains learned to make decisions without waiting for complete data analysis. The alien representatives watched with growing concern. "This is highly irregular," said Valsor after observing the simulation. "Your pilots are not following standard attack formations." "That's the point," Lisa explained. "We want to confuse the enemy, not be predictable." Not all humans agreed with the new approach. Captain Steve Morris argued during a planning session. "We're throwing away centuries of Alliance military doctrine. These alien races have been fighting space wars while we were still figuring out how to leave our own planet." "And they're losing," Frank reminded him. "Sometimes fresh eyes see what experience misses." Finally, after 3 weeks of preparation, Operation Wildcard was ready for its first real test. The target, reclaiming the Tau Ceti system, a small but strategic location the Draconids had captured 6 months earlier. The night before the mission, Frank found Lisa working late in the command center. "Nervous?" he asked. She nodded. "If this fails, humans will never get another chance to lead in this war." "It won't fail." Frank looked at the battle plans one more time. The Draconids expect the Alliance to attack in standard formation, with ships arranged by size and firepower. Instead, we're going to split our forces, use that old mining asteroid as cover, and hit them from multiple directions at once. "Do you think it will work?" Lisa asked. "Human history is full of battles won by the underdog who did something unexpected." Frank smiled confidently. "Besides, there's one thing we have that the Draconids can't program into their battle computers." "What's that?" "Human stubbornness. We don't like to lose." The next morning, the human-led battle groups departed Europa Base. Their mission would either turn the tide of the Galactic War or confirm that humanity wasn't ready for the stars after all. The 3 battle groups emerged from hyperspace at different points around the Tau Ceti system. On the bridge of the flagship Intrepid, Admiral Frank Bennett watched the tactical display light up with the positions of Draconid forces. They spotted Commander Simmons' group, reported Lisa Harper, now serving as Frank's second-in-command. "Enemy vessels are moving to intercept exactly as we predicted." Frank nodded, his eyes fixed on the display. "And they've taken the bait. Major Daniels, begin your approach. Use the mining asteroid for cover." In the second battle group, Major Greg Daniels received the order. His ships powered down all non-essential systems and drifted with the massive, hollowed-out asteroid that had once been a mining operation. The Draconid sensors would have trouble detecting them against the asteroid's mineral background. "All captains, maintain radio silence," Greg ordered, "just like we practiced." Meanwhile, Commander Olivia Simmons led her ships in what appeared to be a standard Alliance attack formation. Her vessels approached from the system's edge, drawing Draconid attention. The enemy responded exactly as they had in previous battles, arranging their ships in a defensive posture that had proven effective against Alliance tactics. "They're falling into position," Olivia reported, beginning Phase 2. Suddenly, her ships broke formation, scattering in seemingly random directions. The Draconid fleet hesitated, their battle computers struggling to predict the new patterns. On the Draconid command ship, Fleet Commander Vexar hissed in frustration. "What are they doing? This is not in their battle doctrine." His tactical officer's scales changed color in distress. "Unknown, Commander. Their movements do not match any Alliance patterns in our database." "Adapt, track, and destroy," Vexar ordered. The Draconid ships began to pursue Olivia's vessels, spreading themselves thin. The moment they did, Frank gave the signal. "Major Daniels, execute now." Greg's battle group powered up all systems and burst from behind the asteroid. They raced toward the Draconid fleet from behind, weapons hot. The enemy had no time to reorganize their scattered forces. "Fire at will," Greg commanded. The human-led ships launched their attack, targeting engines and weapon systems with precision strikes, instead of focusing on center mass as Alliance doctrine normally required. Draconid vessels found themselves crippled rather than destroyed, creating obstacles that blocked their fleet's movements. Frank watched as the trap closed. "Commander Simmons, reverse course." Olivia's ships abruptly stopped their retreat and turned to face the enemy. The Draconids were now caught between two human battle groups, their carefully calculated defense in shambles. "This is not possible," Vexar growled as his ship shuddered under fire. "Alert High Command. The humans are using unpredictable tactics." The battle lasted only 2 hours. When it ended, the Draconid fleet was in retreat, leaving behind damaged ships and control of the Tav Ceti system in Alliance hands. On the Intrepid, the human crew cheered. It was the first major victory against the Draconids in over a year. Frank allowed the celebration for a moment before raising his hand for quiet. "Good work, everyone. But this was just one system. We've surprised them once. They'll adapt." "But not quickly enough," Lisa said. "Our tactics don't follow logical patterns they can easily analyze. We've bought ourselves time and proven the concept." Frank nodded. "Send word to Europa base. Operation Wildcard was successful." The news spread quickly across Alliance territory. On dozens of worlds, people looked up at the stars with hope for the first time in years. The Arcturians began studying human military history. The Proteans requested human advisors for their strategy divisions. The Centaurians spoke of human intuition as if it were a mysterious power. On the Draconid homeworld, the news was received differently. Supreme Overlord Kuvarth summoned his war council. "How did we lose Tav Ceti to these primitives?" he demanded. A science advisor stepped forward nervously. "The humans do not fight like the other Alliance species. They are chaotic, unpredictable." Kuvarth's eyes narrowed. "Then we will learn their chaos. Prepare a special task force. Study everything about these humans. I want Earth under our control within 6 months." 2 months after the victory at Tav Ceti, the Alliance High Command met again on Europa. This time, the room was filled with excitement. Holographic displays showed a map of the galaxy with several systems, now returned to Alliance control. Operation Wildcard has exceeded all expectations, said the Centaurian ambassador. All four of his eyes blinked in a pattern that indicated pleasure. We wish to expand human authority within our military structure. Admiral Frank Bennett stood before the council with Captain Lisa Harper and several other human officers beside him. We're prepared to share our methods, but there's something you need to understand about how humans fight. We don't just use different tactics. We think differently about war itself. The Arcturian High Engineer tilted his blue head. Explain, Admiral. Frank nodded to Colonel Maria Boyd, who stepped forward. She was a small woman with short gray hair and a reputation for brilliant squad tactics. The Alliance trains its soldiers to act as perfect units, Maria said. Everyone follows orders exactly, moves in perfect formation, and sticks to the plan. She activated a display showing Alliance troops in precise lines. But humans, she switched to a video of human soldiers from Earth's history, moving in small groups, taking cover, making individual decisions. We train our people to think for themselves when needed. General Zix of the Proteans shook his head. This seems inefficient and disorderly. It is, Maria agreed. But it works because the Draconids can't predict what an individual might do in the moment. I've developed new training methods that combine Alliance discipline with human initiative. Over the next hour, other human officers presented their ideas. Lieutenant Russell Pierce explained his new intelligence network that relied on instinct and personal judgment as much as data. Engineer Lucy Choi showed how she had found weaknesses in Draconid technology that the Alliance's systematic approach had missed. Their ships have a design flaw here. Lucy pointed to a schematic. The Alliance never attacked this section because it's illogical. It exposes attacking ships to counterfire. But a quick hit-and-run attack targeting only this spot can disable their main weapons with minimal risk. The alien representatives listened with growing interest. Some looked concerned, others fascinated. When the presentations ended, the Council voted unanimously to expand Operation Wildcard. 2 weeks later, humans took leadership positions throughout the Alliance military. Frank was promoted to Grand Admiral, overseeing all Alliance forces. The change wasn't easy. Many alien officers struggled to adapt to human methods. I do not understand why we must change our attack vector at the last minute, complained an Arcturian captain during a training exercise. Because the enemy expects the logical approach, explained Frank. We need to surprise them. On the factory moon orbiting the Procyon homeworld, Lucy Choi worked with alien engineers to redesign Alliance ships. They argued about her changes constantly. This weapon placement is not optimal, said a Procyon engineer. Our calculations show. Your calculations are why the Draconids know exactly where to hit us, Lucy interrupted. We're putting weapons where they don't expect them. Meanwhile, Maria Boyd trained mixed groups of human and alien soldiers. She set up combat scenarios with unexpected changes halfway through. The plan has failed, she announced during an exercise. Your commander is down. Communications are jammed. What do you do? The alien troops froze, waiting for new orders. The humans immediately reorganized, found cover, and adapted. That's the difference we need to teach, Maria told her alien counterpart. Sometimes there are no orders to follow. Not everyone embraced the human way. Some alien officers complained to their governments. Some humans also questioned the rapid changes. We're moving too fast, Captain Steve Morris told Lisa during a strategy meeting. The Alliance has fought wars for centuries. We've been in space for less than 200 years. But we've been fighting each other for thousands, Lisa replied. That's what the Draconids don't understand about us. As the humans settled into their new roles, reports came in from the borders of Alliance space. The Draconids were gathering a massive fleet near Aldebaran. The next test of human leadership was coming, and it would be much bigger than Ta City. The Draconid attack on Aldebaran came with overwhelming force. Commander Alan Wright watched from the bridge of his ship as the enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace. There were far more ships than intelligence had predicted. All vessels, battle stations, Alan ordered. His voice remained calm despite the fear he felt. "Remember your training. Be unpredictable." The human-led fleet moved to engage the Draconids, but something was different this time. The enemy ships did not form their usual precise formations. Instead, they spread out in patterns that seemed almost human. "They're copying our tactics," said Alan's first officer. "They've been studying us." The battle quickly turned against the Alliance. The Draconids had adapted faster than expected. They attacked in seemingly random patterns, targeting the weak points Lucy Choi had identified in their own ships. They had fixed those weaknesses in their vessels while looking for the same flaws in Alliance designs. After 6 hours of heavy fighting, Alan was forced to order a retreat. The Alliance lost 23 ships and control of the Aldebaran system. It was a devastating blow. Back at Europa Base, Grand Admiral Frank Bennett received the news with a grim expression. The Alliance Council called an emergency meeting. "The human methods have failed," said the Arcturian representative. "Perhaps we should return to our traditional." "No," Frank interrupted. "The Draconids adapted to our first set of tactics. That was expected. Now we adapt again. That's the real human method. Constant evolution." Before the council could respond, Captain Diane Foster rushed into the room. She was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, her uniform torn and dirty. "Captain Foster." Lisa Harper rose from her seat in surprise. "Your ship was reported destroyed at Aldebaran." Diane nodded. "It was, but not before my team and I boarded the Draconid command vessel." She held up a small data device. "We captured this." The room fell silent. No one had ever successfully boarded a Draconid ship before. The data revealed the Draconids' true plan. They had allowed the Alliance to win a few systems while preparing a massive strike at the heart of human territory, Earth itself. They believe if they eliminate humans, the Alliance will revert to its old predictable ways. Lisa explained as they reviewed the intelligence. "This is a direct attempt to remove us from the equation." The Alliance Council debated through the night. Some wanted to strengthen defenses across all systems. Others argued to abandon Earth as strategically unimportant compared to more developed Alliance worlds. "Earth stays protected," Frank declared, ending the debate. "Not just because it's our homeworld, but because it's symbolic. If the Draconids want to break human spirit, taking Earth would do exactly that. But defending Earth will require pulling forces from other systems," argued General Zix. "Many worlds will be left vulnerable." Frank looked at the galactic map. "Yes, and that's exactly what the Draconids won't expect us to do." He turned to Lisa. "They think they understand how humans fight now. Let's show them they've only seen our opening move." Over the next days, Frank unveiled a bold plan. Rather than spreading forces thin to protect all systems, the Alliance would appear to abandon many worlds, including several important ones. Earth would seem barely defended, with only a small fleet visible in the Sol system. "This is very risky," said the Centaurian ambassador, all four eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "We would be sacrificing many worlds." "Not sacrificing," Frank corrected, "baiting a trap." Lieutenant Hannah Reyes, a brilliant weapons engineer, presented her plan to convert Earth's moon into a massive hidden weapons platform. Meanwhile, Dr. Vincent Patel showed designs for automated fighter drones that could be launched from Mars colonies. "The Draconids think they've figured out human unpredictability," Frank told the council. "What they don't understand is that humans are at their most dangerous when backed into a corner." The massive Draconid armada approached the Sol system with confidence. Over 300 warships dropped out of hyperspace between the orbits of Neptune and Uranus. On their command ship, Supreme Overlord Kvarth watched with satisfaction as his scanners showed only a small defensive force near Earth. "The humans have abandoned their homeworld," he said to his officers. "They are not as sentimental as we thought." The Draconid fleet moved forward steadily, their sensors scanning for traps but finding nothing concerning. They passed Jupiter without incident. As they approached Mars, they detected only minimal defenses and a few civilian structures. "This is too easy," said Kvarth's second-in-command. "The humans are known for their tricks. They have spread their forces too thin defending other systems." Kvarth replied, "Our deception worked. Now we will crush their homeworld and break their spirit." The Draconid ships formed into attack formation as they closed in on Earth. The small Alliance fleet moved to intercept but was clearly outmatched. Kvarth gave the order to begin the attack. What happened next shocked the entire Draconid command structure. The surface of Luna, Earth's moon, suddenly opened in dozens of places. Massive weapon platforms rose from hidden underground bases. Lieutenant Hannah Rice stood in the Lunar Control Center, surrounded by both human and alien operators. All moon defense systems online, she reported over the secure channel to Admiral Bennett. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Hundreds of energy beams lanced out from the lunar surface, striking the unprepared Draconid ships. At the same moment, the rocky surface of Mars seemed to come alive. Dr. Vincent Patel watched from his underground bunker as thousands of small fighter drones launched from hidden silos. "All drones deployed," he reported. "Swarming patterns activated." The tiny drones moved in complex, unpredictable patterns, overwhelming Draconid targeting systems. They attached themselves to enemy ships and detonated, causing damage to engines and weapons. Kvarth roared in anger. "We've been deceived. Full defensive measures. Destroy that moon." Before the Draconid fleet could reorganize, dozens of Alliance warships emerged from hiding places in the asteroid belt. Others had been concealed in the atmosphere of Jupiter, using the gas giant's storms as cover. They had been waiting there for days. On the bridge of the flagship Defiance, Grand Admiral Frank Bennett gave the order. "All ships engage. Remember your targets. Don't follow patterns." The battle erupted across the entire inner solar system. The Alliance ships attacked from multiple directions, using the tactics humans had taught them. No two ships followed the same approach. The Draconids found themselves surrounded and confused. Lisa Harper commanded a wing of fast attack vessels that darted between the larger enemy ships, hitting critical systems and quickly moving away. "Target their communication arrays," she ordered. "Cut them off from each other." As the battle raged, Captain Peter Morgan led a small team on a special mission. Their stealth ship slipped through the chaos, approaching the Draconid command vessel. They wore experimental armor designed by Lucy Choi that partially blocked Draconid sensors. "We're docking on the underside," Peter told his team. "Remember, our only target is Kvarth himself." In and out, 15 minutes. They cut through the hull and entered the massive ship. Alarms blared around them. Fighting through corridors against Draconid soldiers, they pushed toward the command center. Outside, the battle turned in the Alliance's favor. The moon defense system destroyed dozens of Draconid vessels. The drone swarms from Mars disabled many more. The hidden Alliance fleet closed in from all sides. Kvarth realized his mistake too late. "We must retreat," he ordered. "All ships, prepare tow." The doors to his command center exploded inward. Peter Morgan and his team rushed in, weapons firing. Draconid guards fell as the human soldiers advanced. Kvarth drew his ceremonial blade, hissing in rage. "You think you can defeat me, human?" Peter raised his weapon. "We already have." News of Supreme Overlord Kvarth's capture spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. The remaining Draconid fleet retreated in disarray, their command structure shattered. Within days, reports arrived of Draconid forces pulling back from dozens of systems. On Europa base, Grand Admiral Frank Bennett stood before the captured Draconid leader. Kvarth was secured in a special chamber designed to accommodate his large reptilian form while keeping him contained. "You fight without honor," Kvarth hissed. "Without rules. Without proper war doctrine." Frank studied the alien ruler. "We fight to win." And we did. In the following weeks, the Alliance launched coordinated attacks on key Draconid strongholds. With their leadership in chaos and their battle computers unable to predict human tactics, the once mighty empire began to crumble. On many planets, oppressed species rose up against their draconid overlords when they saw the Empire weakening. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, representatives from both sides met on a neutral space station to discuss peace terms. Admiral Bennett and Ambassador Joe Rice led the Alliance delegation. Kvarth, now allowed limited freedom to negotiate for his people, represented the Draconids. "The terms are simple," Frank said. "The Draconid Empire will withdraw from all conquered territories. Your military will be limited to defensive capabilities only, and you will pay reparations to the worlds you destroyed." Kvarth's scales darkened in anger. "You would reduce us to a minor power. We would prevent you from starting another war." Ambassador Reyes replied calmly, "Your people can prosper through trade and cooperation instead of conquest." After days of tense negotiations, the Draconids accepted the terms. They had little choice. Their fleets were in retreat, their colonies in rebellion, and their homeworld now vulnerable to Alliance attack. The peace agreement was signed on Earth, a symbolic choice that recognized humanity's role in winning the war. Representatives from all Alliance species attended the ceremony in a great hall built specifically for the occasion. As the delegates filed out after the signing, Captain Lisa Harper found herself walking beside Valsor, the Arcturian high engineer who had once dismissed her ideas. "I must admit," Valsor said, his musical voice humble, "I did not believe humans were ready for such responsibility. I was wrong." Lisa smiled. "We still have much to learn from you. The Arcturians have built wonders we can barely understand." "Perhaps," Valsor replied, "but you have taught us something more valuable, how to think beyond our patterns." In the aftermath of the war, humans found themselves elevated to a leading role in the United Galactic Alliance. Admiral Bennett was appointed Supreme Commander of all Alliance forces, the first human to hold the position. The formerly skeptical alien races now sent their brightest minds to Earth to study human history, psychology, and military tactics. 6 months after the peace treaty, Lisa Harper, now promoted to Admiral, established the new Galactic Academy. Unlike the old Alliance military schools that taught rigid doctrine, the Academy brought together cadets from all species to learn from each other. On opening day, Lisa addressed the first class of mixed-species cadets. The Draconids almost won this war because the Alliance became too predictable, too set in its ways, she told them. Humans helped turn the tide not because we're smarter or stronger, but because we brought a different perspective. Each species has its strengths and its weaknesses. Together, we're greater than the sum of our parts. In his new office overlooking the Academy grounds, Frank Bennett watched the cadets training below. Human instructors taught improvisation and creative thinking. Arcturian teachers shared their technological expertise. Procyon officers demonstrated their analytical methods. Centaurians taught diplomatic approaches to conflict resolution. A communication alert sounded. It was a message from the border. Signs of a new, unknown species had been detected at the edge of Alliance space. Frank smiled slightly. Whatever came next, the Alliance would face it together, with humans now a full partner in the galaxy's future.